We now want to hear from Richard Winfield, who's a prospective candidate for District 10. Thank you, Mr. Winfield. Well, we definitely want you here with the microphone.
Okay. You know, I'm a state employee, so by law I can't announce officially until I go on unpaid leave, which I will do in January. So at that point I'll be without income, without benefits, but I will be a candidate for the 10th district. And the reason for that is I want to advance an agenda that has been fundamentally neglected by the Democratic Party, by most grassroots organizations, and by their international counterparts around the world. And as a result of that, the allegiance of much of the working classes of the world have gone to a new nationalist movement, where demagogues are claiming to be able to solve the economic malaise affecting broad swaths of the population. And they can do that because in our country, Democrats and grassroots movements have failed to present the programs that extend our rights beyond the political and civil rights enshrined in our Constitution, beyond the rights that civil rights movements have contested, that identity politics have focused upon, that feminism has focused upon. We need to instead address the social and economic rights that provide the economic security and independence with which all the disparities in wealth that afflict our population in general, between black and white, between men and women, can be resolved. Now, the first right is a right that few are speaking about these days. It's the right to work, the true right to work, the right of everyone who wants a job to have a job. And as you know, millions of Americans are unemployed not because they're lazy, not because there's anything wrong with them, because the market perennially does not provide jobs to everyone. So our government has to stand in and provide jobs for anyone who wants one. We know this can be done. It was done as an emergency measure under the New Deal. But we need to think of this as a permanent fixture of a just and fair society, so that everyone knows that there is a job awaiting them that can serve the public good. And that will eliminate the fear that people labor under who have jobs, but are fearful of, for example, blowing the whistle on sexual harassment, racial discrimination, the failure of employees to provide overtime, because they're worried of losing their jobs. Now, this first primary right, which is the very anchor of economic independence and security, obviously needs to be supplemented by a second right, because we know, especially in a place like Athens, that there are thousands of people here, millions of Americans who work not just one, but 2 or 3 jobs, still can't make ends meet because we tolerate poverty wages. So we need to have as a second right the right to have a fair minimum wage. Now, a fair wage is more than a living wage. A living wage is another recipe for poverty and for a diminishing share in the national wealth of wages. We have to secure as a fundamental principle that wages will rise in tandem with the economic growth of our nation as a whole, with the rise in productivity, so that all of us benefit from the rise of prosperity. We don't want to talk about middle classes, which is tantamount to be complicit with toleration of an underclass. We want to eliminate poverty entirely. We want to ensure that everyone labors with at least a fair wage, and a fair wage is at least $20 an hour. It's not $15 an hour. And if you do the math and think about how the minimum wage should be adjusted in accord with economic growth, it's well over $20 an hour. And this indeed can be done. It puts no business in an economic or competitive disadvantage. We can save the souls of entrepreneurs by requiring all of them to act ethically. And if we make it a global requirement, no one is at a competitive disadvantage in meeting these levels of fairness. Now, obviously, there are also issues concerning employee empowerment. I'm a member of a trade union. Anyone else here a member of a trade union? We're fighting for employee representation. I think it's very important to reflect on what it means for Indivisible to have no one here who is a member of a union or fighting for union representation. But if we want to level the playing field between employer and employee, we need to ensure that workers can organize and engage in collective bargaining in every workplace, and that also employees can have a seat on corporate boards. Now, in addition, we have to have as a right that no one's family entanglements prevent them from earning a living. And the failure of our society to address that problem is one of the prime causes why women still continue to lag men in income, in retirement benefits, and in positions of power in the economy and in politics. So to eliminate the way in which our family responsibilities impinge unequally on our ability to earn a livelihood, we need to do two things. On the one hand, we have to require all employers, to give employees paid leave for family matters. Paid emergency leave, 9-month paid parental leave, and in addition, 1-month paid vacations. All of which is done in many countries in the world. On the other hand, we have to ensure that no one is unable to afford having their children cared for, their elders cared for, while they are at work. So we need to have public free daycare, public free elder care. And in addition, we need to ensure that there's a child allowance of at least $500 per month per child to wipe out the scourge of childhood poverty. Now, obviously, we also have to think about healthcare. You can't exercise any right unless you can be healthy. Only 2 nations in the world have opted for a single-payer system. And I know there's talk of Medicare for all, and I myself think that in the United States, a single-payer system is the best solution. But we have to keep in mind Medicare as well as Medicaid are not good enough. They don't cover all medical services. They also have co-pays and deductibles that are unaffordable for many Americans.
That's 6
So
minutes.
we need to have a single-payer system with no co-pays, no deductibles, covers all mental, physical, dental care, and covers all medicines. And this, okay, all of these things can be covered by completely transforming our tax system and tapping the great reserves of wealth that is so unevenly distributed in our economy. We need to think of a highly graduated wealth tax. Now, I'm here speaking about the conditions for a new birth of freedom. It's a program that, for many of you, appears unrealistic, unwinnable, but I would challenge you to look at who's here. We are the usual suspects. If we are going to win in the 10th district and nationally, we have to have coming here people who voted for Trump. We have to have people here who know that we are offering the programs that will give them the economic independence and security they need.
Thank you so much.
You need to elect it first before you push most of that.